A late show earned the Town a point away to Stoke City on Tuesday night in a 1-1 draw to keep the momentum in the Great Escape going. Alongside me to review decent enough night of football for the Town actually is the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe. Jimbo, another point on the board, my friend.
Hands up who didn't get sleep. Hands up who doesn't care. Come on.
Hands up whose voice is absolutely knackered, but we'll do it all over again. And we'll look back on all of that right after this intro.
I believe our supporters are the best supporters in the country.
I love this town. I love this town. I love this town. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got this massive soul.
We're Luton people, and that's what we care about.
Hello everyone, welcome along to another episode of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast, the award-winning, longest-running Luton Town podcast, having scooped bronze in the Best Football League podcast category at the Football Content Awards. This season, the show is in association with Solid, providing opportunities, provisions and assistance so our academy can fulfil its potential. As I mentioned before the intro, we are looking back at Stoke 1, Luton Town 1. Really late show from the Town, but very much a deserved point, I think it's fair to say. Just a little caveat on that. Me and Jimbo are recording this the morning after rather than the night after, so if my throat disappears at the end of this, that is all down to Milli Alli and nobody else, Jimbo.
Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
You beat me to it, man.
Your new favourite player is Milli Alli.
You beat me to it. But yeah, I mean, we'll come on to him in a minute because there are impacts, and that was an absolute impact. But first of all, Jimbo, I mean, it was a night that if we had lost that game, it would have been damaging because no one else lost around us apart from Hull. But it would have been damaging because of the circumstances around it. We didn't deserve to lose. I think everyone can see that. Was it the greatest game of football in the world? No. Was it ever going to be? No. It's 20th against 23rd for a reason. The goal against us is just an absolute killer. I mean, we mentioned in the last podcast or the last couple of podcasts that our luck's improving. Well and truly disappeared again last night. But the one thing that's been great about this football club and its team for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, it's never known when it's beaten. We lost that for 6 months, maybe even longer, but in the Premier League you can excuse it. Well, it's back, and it's back in a big way.
Yeah, big time. Which is what I think Milli Alli says a lot, which it is. It feels fantastic. The manner of the goal is all important, isn't it? It turns, a point from the jaws of defeat into something that feels like a win. And we're still in the same position we were points-wise before going into that match. We've obviously got 5 games now instead of 6. But it still feels like it's on. It's doable. And the momentum is still there. That is such a key thing. And I'm a big fan of comedy, and in comedy, timing's everything. But so is it in football. And in the same way that scoring 11 seconds after the restart against Hull killed them, getting that in the 91st minute, and what a goal it was, what a performance from Ali it was. Not only keeps you kicking on until the weekend, and you've got that good feeling, that good vibe, and you didn't deserve to lose that game and all that. But you've also unearthed an absolute player. I mean, he looked good on impacts, but now he's fully announced himself in a Hatters shirt. And I think he did that even before he got the goal, but cherry on top stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if it was because in the second half we were attacking the end whereby Ali was right in front of the Luton fans, but he just looked on a different level to everything else over the course of that second half in particular. We'll come on to that in a minute. One team change for this game. Tahith Chong came in for Elijah Adebayo. We kind of expected that in the preview. He gave that game away, didn't he, when he brought Chong on against Leeds for Elijah. Still no full update on Elijah, but, we were never expecting to see him against Stoke just because of the way he limped off at the end on Saturday. Unfortunately, we were forced into a change after about a quarter of an hour, maybe slightly after. As it turns out, it was a stroke of luck that we were forced into that change. No one wants Alfie Doughty to go down injured. Looks like his hamstring got involved in a tussle on the sideline that he probably didn't need to get involved in, but He was a doubt anyway for the game, wasn't he? So I don't know if it was a reoccurrence of that injury, but he went off. Here's where I really, really like what I see from Matt Bloomfield right now. I've mentioned it in recent podcasts. There's a lot of people in a game of that magnitude that would have said, right, Naismith, you're on, Amari Bell, you're going left wing back, and we'll just stick as we are. Definitely Rob Edwards would have done that. I've absolutely no doubt about it. No, we're going to go and win this game. We're going to put the attacking threat on. I'm not going to worry about anything else. Because let's be fair, for all he's great going forward, Milli Alli, he's not the best going backwards. This is an away game, 0-0, 75 minutes to go. Credit to Matt Bloomfield. It was Ali who came on for him, and well, he got his results at the end of the night, didn't he?
Yeah, sometimes it just works like that. Often when you need to get your shot, as a young player, usually to get your shot, it's usually an injury or one of the worst performances you've ever seen to really shake things up. And it's unfortunate for Doughty. He looked really innocuous, same as Elijah's. And my gut feeling says you won't see them again this season. But when you've got a player that comes on and instantly impresses like that in a way that him and Doughty are completely different players, but what Milli Alli offers is what all defenders are absolutely petrified of, which is pace. But not only pace, he's got some snake hips because he danced through Stoke for that, the goal. He danced through them earlier on as well for a shot that got blocked. He was fantastic because he had another shot saved. He had a header cleared off the line. He scared the living daylights out of them. And suddenly we've got a star that could be the man for this remake of The Great Escape.
Yeah, indeed. I'm still absolutely certain that going forward, once we got out of this mess, assuming we get out of this mess, that we're going to go back to that formation that Bloomfield played at Wickham and the one that he recruited for in January, a 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, however you want to do it. And that left wing position is tailor-made for Milli Alli. And yeah, I mean, so it proved it kind of a quiet first half, wasn't it? It was absolutely nowhere near the despair and the depths of sort of what the hell am I doing here that Cardiff was 3 or 4 weeks prior to it. It was a competitive first half. I wouldn't say anyone really edged it, but I thought the Town were using the ball pretty well. When we could get Izzy Jones in down that right-hand side, he was having fun. Defensively, though, he's so good, Izzy Jones. You talk about timing. He knows exactly when to nudge the guy who's going past him, because that Korean lad, I mean, he nudged him out of play 2 or 3 times, and, you know, just not physically, he was just basically just being stronger. But it's like each time, just as he was about to go past him, nudge, you're not going past me, son, nudge again. And it was, I'd not really seen his defensive work, Izzy, because we've not really had to do it. Again, it might just be that it was the corner right by where the Luton fans were, but that was positive. I'd say the best chance of the half, probably, and it's not even a chance, it's a half chance, but from the away end, and I must say I've seen nothing back of this game. We've not had time. We're recording this pretty much first thing in the morning. Was Asgard's volley. From the away end, it looked very, very close. Tell me.
Yeah, it was maybe a foot, 2 foot if you're being generous, just away from the crossbar, dipping lovely. If he was a couple of yards back, that's a top corner goal. Yeah. Do you know what? This is how the mood shifted, I think, because if you want to look at that game and say it was low on quality in the first half, you'd be right. But I think you should be looking at how effective Luton were defensively in that half. And that's fine in most away games. But in a relegation 6-pointer match, when you're away, going keeping it tight and frustrating a home crowd is absolutely the job you got to do. And yeah, I'd like to have seen Chong and Jones and Ali get involved a bit more. And in fact, Ali's start was probably a bit tentative, which makes the finish and his second half in particular even more impressive. But they didn't have to. They kept it relatively tight. They weren't getting that much joy. Stoke, they were chucking it up to Gallagher, which is what we wanted all day long. And on the one occasion, maybe 2 that he got it, the header wasn't strong enough to trouble anyone. But otherwise, McGuinness was keeping him well marshalled, and I think that's absolutely fine. I was really comfortable and impressed with the first half display on that basis. I just think they were better They were the better team second half.
Yeah. Huge credit to McGuinness. We've called for the dark arts, haven't we, that we've not been doing this season. Well, the rugby tackle on, I think it was Gallagher, after about 5 minutes as he was about to break clear, fantastic. Yeah, he got a yellow card. It was a deserved yellow card. No qualms about that. But we've mentioned it a few times on this podcast, how we let players go in that position. Was it it was Sheffield Wednesday away, wasn't it, where we let the guy go in an identical position, and then 5 seconds later he's winning a penalty in their penalty box. Just take him out. Take your yellow card. It's absolutely fine. You're now organised. You're not diving into challenges or anything like that. There's no risk of you being sent off for a second yellow card because you're not doing anything stupid. And it's fine. You've just broken it up there and then. Any momentum that they got, 5 minutes in, you knew you were going to have to weather a storm anyway. Just pull them down. It's fine. Roles reversed. That's exactly what happens.
Yeah, there was a quite a bit of that, actually. I mean, that's how Morris got his booking. It was a fairly cynical challenge to prevent a break, which was fine. And then, I mean, that thing in the early in the second half where the crowd were baying for his...
If he's not booked, no one even mentions that because there's nothing in it.
There's nothing in it. The Stoke player blocks him off, if anything, and it wasn't him that got the booking, was it? It was the fullback who
gave it a bit too chit-chat, didn't he?
Complaining and got the booking because the ref give it that. No, he gestured that he should be getting booked, and no chance whatsoever. But that's dark arts as well, isn't it? But that we weren't seeing that. We were too nice beforehand, despite the red card record that we have this season. And that's not the case. And that all comes with this defensive, more resilient defence that Luton have now got, which obviously took 2 months to get right, and that's how bad it was. But now it's complete turnaround to the point where we were talking about teams like Leeds not really cutting Luton open defensively, and neither did Stoke, and that's why the goal is a sickener, because it's a complete fluke. And luckily it didn't cost, but it was nervy at that point. But Luton went after it. They got their reward.
Yeah, we did. I mean, that goal was annoying for a couple of reasons, really. It was annoying because, although I wouldn't say Luton were about to score imminently, we were knocking on the door, but I wouldn't say we were banging the thing open at this point. But if someone had tapped me on the shoulder and said there's a goal about to happen, then I'd have expected it to have been for Luton, because we were the ones doing all of the attacking then. I know people are going to have a Stoke persuasion, are going to say, well, they had the header from the corner. I mean, if Kaminski's not saving that, then we have got problems. I'm not even sure it would have got in the goal, even if it hadn't got to him. And then they had that one where Gallagher went through and Kaminski seemed to slip and it went wide of the post.
That was nervy. I mean,
we in the away end, you could see it was going wide, okay. So it wasn't.
I mean, that was very nervy. But I mean, there's a bit of luck there, isn't it? That previously they might have crept inside the post. Obviously, didn't get the luck for the actual goal, but not quite getting as punished as relentlessly as we were.
But those 2 minutes aside, I didn't really think we were ever in any danger. And you're not cut open from a corner, are you? It's just one guy's just got the jump on someone else, but we still did enough to put him off to make some of the power go out of the header. It's simple save for Kaminski, and anyone can slip. A lot of people were slipping on that pitch last night. They must have absolutely saturated it. But going the other way, pretty much everything that we did went through Milli Alli. I mean, we've put Milli Alli on his poster on the wall here, because why wouldn't you? It's absolutely brilliant performance. But before we really focus on Alli, because the rest of the game is largely about him, I just want to mention this midfield three again, because they are proper.
Quality.
They are absolutely proper. I mean, Jordan Clark last night, brilliant. We'll come on to the best assist that has ever been known to man shortly. But the first one to depart was Liam Walsh. 70-minute shift that was absolutely fantastic. When he has the ball in away games, everything slows down. He picks the right pass. It's only a simple pass, but it gets us 10 yards further up the pitch. Whereas you go back 3 months, whack, and then it coming back just as quickly. It's just subtle things that just give the defence time to get a breather in, just to reorganise, and particularly when he does it out of defensive set pieces, because quite often Alfie or whoever the left winger is swap over with Izzy Jones because of their position in defending the set piece, and they stay in that position, don't they? So when Walsh just does a simple pass, then that's the trigger for everyone to just recalibrate into their own positions. Really, really simple. He does a really effective job. You almost don't notice he's there now because he's so effective at what he does. And we're hearing that Marvellous Nakamba could be back for the weekend. He doesn't get in that midfield now. And you go back 3 to 4 months, and we were crying out for Marvellous Nakamba to be in there, and that's just a sign of the progression that Liam Walsh has had over the last, certainly 6 weeks in particular.
You mean Liam Walsh, the Redeemer? We're going to make this a thing, people. That's his nickname now. He is absolutely quality. I love him. He's so understated, but he's keeping this team ticking. And at the beginning of the season, we've heard this, that the general plan was that Baptiste and Walsh would come in and try and fill the void of Ross Barkley. Not the same player, obviously, but they both had injury records, and they sort of hoped that if one was injured, the other wouldn't be. I mean, at the time, they were both crocked, and then one was red-carded twice, and that was where we were with him. And he has apologised in writing, and he's apologised impressively by his actions ever since. And you don't drop Liam Walsh, and Marvellous Nakamba's just going to have to sit there and come in and do a job if needed, like as an impact off the bench, because this midfield three, all of a sudden, keep this team ticking. There's link between back and front, and that for me is a lot to do with Walsh. But then you can get it to Ali, he's an absolute baller, and he's just going to. Sorry, not Ali, Asgard, absolute baller. Both of them are.
Yeah, you was right. You was right.
We'll get to it in a minute. But yeah, I mean, if that volley of his nestled in the top corner, it would have capped a decent performance. And the fact that we're not going to rave about him too much is because of one man, and we all know he is. He's there. He's every fucking where.
Oh, well, he was last night, that's for sure. Yeah, that right back's still untangling his legs from last night, I think. Jordan Clark, I'm really loving his work right now as well. Again, we'll mention his assist in a moment, but just his overall play, he's another one who's calm on the ball, doesn't do anything fancy and flashy with it, but he'll carry it up the pitch. Liam Walsh is more of a passer up the pitch, isn't he? That's just the physicality of the two, and that's absolutely fine. That's why they complement each other so well. His set pieces last night were really, really threatening as well. Didn't really get on the end of them, but they were in the area where against a lesser team, Stoke are a very big team, against a lesser team, you could see a McGuinness or a Makosso or an Asgard, or as we went later into the night, Nordas getting on the end of one of those Jordan Clark set pieces. We think Alfie's done for the season, don't we? I mean, anyone who picks up an injury now, season ends 2 weeks on Saturday. 3 weeks on Saturday, they're pretty much going to be out, aren't they? If they're out for 2 weeks, then they're only going to be back for one game. So we kind of think Alfie's done for the season. So set pieces, we're going to need another taker. That's likely to be Clicker. So it was encouraging that we were getting on the end or challenging for a lot of his last night.
Yeah, he did a good job on the set pieces when Doubt was out the last time. But one thing on the midfield is that you mentioned the stature of the two players, Walsh and Clark, and it's remarkable, really. They're just not getting bullied anymore. And if there's one team in this division you might expect traditionally that could bully a couple of small midfielders, it might be Stoke, and they couldn't. They couldn't do it. So that's another impressive mark. I mean, right from Bloomfield had to come in. He had to sort out that defence because it was leaking like you wouldn't believe, and he has done. And now he's got a midfield trio that's working. And obviously, still we're talking about strikers that haven't scored a goal yet. Well, I think that you won't see another goal from Adebayo this season. Unfortunately, we'll see what the prognosis is there, but I don't think he will. And that leaves Morris, but he's still doing the job of winning all those aerial duels when Luton do go long. And now, if the options are going to be Ali and Chong, he's got runners that will go off those flick-ons. So I'm comfortable with the way that is going. And anyway, there were people, regardless of the fact that Adebayo had picked up and started playing like Adebayo again without the goals, there are people that still saying that he needs to come out of the team. Well, he's probably going to be out of the team now. The options are there, and I'm really excited. I was excited anyway about the last run into the game because I think, well, you said it to me. I don't want to steal your thunder. You said we've got our club back, and it feels like that. And now there's options and there's momentum and there's what Bloomfield said. There's all these things that have gone into the mix, but now they've shown that they absolutely will not be beaten, and that's a great trait to have.
Yeah, indeed. I'll talk about the reaction to the goal in a minute, but there was a triple change just before the goal, wasn't there? Morris went off. I'm assuming a lot of that was because that hoo-ha at the start of the second half, which was absolute bollocks. I mean, it's basically 2 minutes of wasting everyone's time, apart from the geezer who got the yellow card for wanting the yellow card. Well, here you go, son, here's your yellow card. Again, if he hadn't been booked in the first half, we'd just crack on and everything else. So Morris goes off. Liam Walsh is regularly hooked at around the 60, 70 minute mark, isn't it? And that's fine. If that's the shift he can put in, then and that means that you can go the next time, then that's absolutely fine. Someone else came off. It's all a blur. We definitely made a triple substitution. Christ Makosso was the third one who went off. Reece Burke came on, Lamine Fanner came on, Lasse Nordas came on in that. So immediately, we're a young side at 0-0 in a game that a lot of people, I did a bit of a vox pop on the concourse before the game. I think most people had it as we cannot lose this game. If we can win it, yeah, happy days, but do not lose this game of football.
I agree with that, because when we were talking a couple of weeks ago, we were saying we have to beat Stoke and you have to beat Derby, but the landscape changes with every result in this sort of scenario when other teams are winning. And I definitely feel like that was the order of the day now, and which is why we're celebrating a late point. Well, you would anyway, because you were going to get a defeat and then you get a point. But I feel like maybe the Derby one's still a big one. But got those home games really important now, and it changes the landscape. It doesn't change what we think we need, which is probably 3 from 5 wins. But it does make that point last night so valuable.
It does. But to trust 3 younger players, well, not Reece isn't a young player, but he's kind of young in terms of the season, in that position shows that Matt's got a lot of faith in these players, which is good. That's what we want. Unfortunately, 2 of them were involved to a negative extent. You tell me if it was a foul for the free kick, because it's 80 or 90 yards away, but I thought he just fell over, to be quite honest with you. Lamine's in there digging around for the ball, isn't he? I didn't see oceans of Stoke appeals, let's put it that way, but the free kick's given. Whether it was a free kick, whether it wasn't a free kick, let
me clear this up for you, because it wasn't, and I'm not having it. I'm not having anyone that says it was, because when you see it happen live, you go, no, he's read that little cut inside that he was going to do. He's got his body in the way. The Stoke players grabbed hold of him, done some sort of roll over and pulled him down, and suddenly that's Lamine Fanny's fault? I don't think so. I'm not having that at all. It was the softest free kick ever, and I honestly was sitting there crossing my fingers going, please don't let this be the thing that does it. And when it does, you're like, oh my God, back to that sinking feeling that I thought had disappeared. But in the end, it didn't matter. It shouldn't have been a free kick.
Yeah, and of course, Luton Youth Academy product Lewis Baker stands over it. And to be fair, I mean, you don't play for England under 21s, go through the system at Chelsea and everything else if you've not got technique about you. Don't think the free kick was going to go in, was it, until it hit Reece Burke. Kaminski's well and truly got that covered. Unfortunately, he's got to dive. And by the time the deflection's taken its path, he can't get back. He's already sort of put his weight on one side, and he's just praying from the away end that the ball's going wide of the post, but deep in your heart of hearts that it isn't. However, this is where this football club's changed on and off the pitch, because 3 months ago, goal number 2 comes hot off the heels of that. Everyone in the stands is like, oh, woe is us, F our luck and everything else. Not last night. Luton fans to a man last night. And if you were in that away end last night, you were absolutely brilliant. Give yourselves a pat on the back, because we contributed massively to that point last night. They rose. There were songs coming from the Stoke fans, but Luton fans rose, and you could hear the Luton fans whilst the ball was making its way back to the halfway line. And hopefully the players heard that, and they thought, you know what, we're not going under here. We're going to keep on going. And that's what they did. Again, credit to Matt Bloomfield. Josh Bowler comes on. He hasn't had much of an impact this season, Josh Bowler, but he's come on in 2 games that I can remember of note. Come on against Cardiff when the game was 1-1. We go and win the game. His shot fell to Telo Asgard. Came on last night 1-0 down, involved down that right-hand side. Should have equalised. I think it's fair to say if he had more football, he would have done. Ball dropped at his feet after an absolute crazy goalmouth scramble, which had, I don't know, everything going for it. He didn't put the ball in the back of the net, but just by stretching the play down that right-hand side meant that Izzy Jones was able to cut inside with a lot more space. He put a crossover. Clicker was going for the worldie Cardiff style. Came right, placed it perfectly to the corner flag where Milli Alli picked up the ball, and then the rest is history. And the scenes when that ball went in the back, got to be honest, I thought he'd hit the side netting originally, only because the angle was so tight I didn't see a way in. But then he's cartwheeling, he's somersaulting, he's doing everything, and there's a charge, the limbs are everywhere. It's everything that being in an away end's supposed to be, and it's very much why my voice is battling with this microphone this morning, but you love it, Jimbo, you love it.
You do. You're doing all right, mate. It's coming across okay. No croakiness. You do absolutely love it. And do you know what? It was a wonderful move. The greatest assist of all time. and there needs to be a slow-mo clip of this from the club. Get it out there. Slow-mo of Jordan Clark. Overhead kicking, assist it straight to Milli Alli. Knew where he was, obviously.
I think it's actually better that the overhead kick didn't go in, that it went this way around.
Yeah, quite possibly. But yeah, straight to Milli Alli. He has a ton of work to do to do that, but he does it in the most gorgeous way. It should be on Strictly Come Dancing, old snake hips, dance past two Stoke defenders, acute angle, best goalie in the Championship. And he didn't stand a chance. If you've seen the slow-mo of the goal, which of course you have, how many times you watched it? 100 million times. That's why nobody slept. Even in slow motion, it is an absolute rocket that is past Johansson before he even moves at the near post. You shouldn't beat the best goalie in this division at your near post, but that was a hell of a way to score your first Luton goal. And then the celebration. And you know what? We've been talking about the teams that have come along in this run. We've been talking about the results we've been getting. And now someone goes and scores a last-minute goal away. Yes, it wasn't a victory, but backflips. Deja vu, anyone? Yes, please.
Absolutely, of course. Yeah, Jimbo's talking about Kazenga Lualua at Hull back in The Great Escape. Yeah, Milli Alli, let's focus on him for a while, actually, because we are going to see an awful lot of him between now and the end of the season. Of course we are. It's not pile too much pressure on him. Of course, he's new to Luton, but he's got that confidence that this team didn't have prior to January when we made all these signings, which is why on this podcast I've sat here and I'm desperate to see more of these January signings because they're bloody good. That's why we signed them. That's why look, we've done all this formation stuff, but we're finding places in this formation where they can be effective, and that's absolutely fine. He reminds me so much of Fred Onyedinma. He's got balance, he's got trickery, he's got pace to absolutely burn. If a defender stands him up, he's straight past him. If two of them stand him up, he'll go through the middle of them. He's got a finish on him. He's got a good cross on him. Crikey, he's got so much going for him. And again, as I said earlier in the podcast, when we get back to this formation that I'm convinced Matt will play long term, going to do well to keep him out of the left-hand side of the front three.
You can do well to keep him out of the side at all for the remainder of the season. I think he's absolutely bolted on there now. He's got to start. He was incredible, just pace, directness, not afraid to knock it past the player, but he's got a lovely little a shimmy in him, a step over that can get past him. His pace over 1 yard is impressive, regardless of the fact that he's quick just generally. That's where the goal came from, because it was a lovely little move to create that space to have the shot. But yeah, he does have that vibe like sort of Fred, but I think judging by the goal last night and his record at Exeter, he knows where the net is a bit more than Fred. And I don't ever remember Fred doing some backflips, so maybe slight upgrade.
Yeah, I think he is an upgrade. He's physical. I remember on his debut at Sheffield Wednesday, he came on the left wing, didn't he? And the right back had his elbow in his mush a couple of times in the first minute. And last night there were a few times where the right back, who, Ali's not stupid, he knows he can't dive in because he's on that yellow card from gobbing off in the Morris incident, tried to sort of rough him up a little bit while standing up, and Ali stands his ground and just waits to get the ball in a sort of position where he can just lay it back to Amari'i Bell, who was getting forward an awful lot. He is back to his best, let me tell you. I was a bit worried about his fitness prior to the international break. No concerns now. Absolutely brilliant. Should also reference, when Bowler came on, Matt changed the formation. We went to a back four. Bowler wide on the right, Izzy Jones behind him, Amari'i Bell behind Milli Alli, who'd pushed on from the left wing back position, who's firmly a left winger at the time that he scored. Again, tactical changes that we just did not see prior to him arriving. And it's important to note that because a lot of the times he's done it, it's had the results. He changed the formation at Cardiff. We went and won the game. Changed the formation last night. We went and drew the game. His tactical tweaks are really, really impressing right now.
Yeah, they are. Everything about it is impressing. You know, and we talked about this, and everybody could know from the previous two clubs how he turned those clubs around, but it took a while, and it has taken a while, and God knows what it would be like if it hit the ground running, because we wouldn't be in this situation. But the hope is there, because now teams can't bully our midfield. They can't seemingly cut Luton's defence open like a knife through butter. And now you've got Chong coming back, Ali impressing, Jones has scored a goal, finding his form. So if you're sort of wondering where the goal's from, well, Jones has started scoring, Ali started scoring. Asgard has scored a goal now. Clark obviously knows where the goal is. And if he doesn't, he knows how to overhead kick and assist to the man who's going to score a goal. And so there will, I mean, we're not scoring 2s and 3s at the moment, but the whole point of the resilience at the back was mean you can go away and get those glorious 1-0s here and there, or fight back and get a valuable point like that. So all the work that they've done needs a lot of credit, I think, because it obviously, well, we could see it then back in the early part of the season, just what a mess it was. And it's taken a while to untangle the mess, but it's looking good. And as I said in the previous podcast, you can now see what a Matt Bloomfield team looks like and what it could do, because you're still not the finished article. Probably ain't going to see the finished article. We just need to get enough points to stay in the division. And look, if the worst comes to the worst, you go into the League One with that sort of outlook and the way he's trying to play, and maybe with a change of formation, like you're saying, to suit the players that he's got. Some new bodies, obviously. That's still going to be the case, and there will need to be that. Then it's quite hopeful under Matt.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, the scenes at the end were just fantastic. They were well deserved. Like I said right at the start of this podcast, we did not deserve to lose last night. I won't sit here and say we deserve to win. I think a draw was probably a fair result over the balance of it. I think if there was to be a winner, though, it should have been us. Don't think Stoke deserved to win the game.
A lot of the balance of chances, really, because Milli's had 4 and he scored one of them, and then Asgard as well. McGuinness has a header. He really should be getting on target.
Do you know what? Yeah. You know full well that I back him to score first every single game. Pound signs were in my eyes, cartoon style, when that header went the other side of the post to where the away fans were, and I thought it was in. I was up. I was off to collect my cash, but just went wide. And you were about to bring out the Nordas flick as well, aren't you? From
to a lesser degree, he was away from goal, and to try and flick that in would have been a hell of a chance. But it's still a half chance, isn't it? I think we just created more than Stoke. So, I think you probably, it's a respectful way to say that maybe you didn't totally deserve to win, but that if there was going to be a winner, you couldn't deny that Luton had the better chances. So, but yeah, I'm talking like this like I feel like it's a win, and that's how it is. That's how it is.
Oh yeah, coming out of there, absolutely everyone's, more than happy that we've not lost. Again, it would have been a travesty had we have lost for so many reasons. But
lose, and I think Stoke are
gone,
virtually gone, and then it's only one team likely. It looks like you've probably got to chase, and that makes it harder, but they're still in it. Watford beat Hull, they're still in it. Derby somehow got a point at Burnley, so we've got to play them, and that's still going to be a massively tough game because they are more informed than Luton if you look at the statistics. But it's the picture down the bottom there is still the same, because you go to the weekend at Blackburn and beat them, and hopefully teams just above the line don't get anything, and then you're out of it, and then it's in your hands.
Well, this is why it was important to keep Stoke in it, wasn't it? It's Cardiff against Stoke on Saturday. So if we do beat Blackburn, again, let's not assume that we do. We've still got to go and beat Blackburn. But if we do beat Blackburn, we're gaining some positive ground somewhere along the line, whether it's Cardiff beat Stoke and we gain on Stoke, whether it's Stoke beat Cardiff, which probably wouldn't be the worst result. Stoke do still have Leeds and Sheffield United to play this season. You wouldn't think they're getting much from them. So if Stoke want to stay slightly further ahead, but within our range, we can still catch them over the last sort of period. But yeah, just going back to those scenes at the end, they kind of reminded me of the togetherness that we showed in the Premier League last season. You know, everyone stayed out for longer. Luton fans cheered a lot longer. There's more gusto and there's more emphasis on now you're going to believe us, the town is staying up and 30 points and everything else. 2 months ago, they were being sung as a bantery, jovial song. Now they're being sung with genuine purpose, genuine belief, getting right behind the players. And if they weren't standing there hearing that from the Luton fans thinking, do you know what, we're all in this together, then they'll never think it, because I don't know how many were there last night, 1,200, 1,500, however many it was. There was loads of us. But to a man, it was like those scenes at the end of a game in the Premier League last night. And you referenced it a minute ago. I told you off camera, I think we've got our club back. And we have, yes, there's still the negative connotations around it because we're second from bottom. And if this season doesn't go the right way, then we all know why it's gone the right way. It's self-inflicted wounds. But if we can get out of this, we can put all those wounds. We've got the plaster over those wounds. They're going to heal. And going forward, Matt's given us everything that this club stands for back again. Hard working, never say die, don't know when you're beaten, character to burn, everything else. It's there now. The only thing that's lacking, that hopefully over the next 5 games we rectify, is that league position.
That's it. That's why I think everybody's so hopeful and that the belief is back. And it's amazing to sort of say that, even though we have said it for a couple of weeks now, for a month now, or just over, to have that turnaround from where we were earlier in the season is remarkable. It's going to go down to the wire. That result shows that the points being picked up by rivals says that. But at the moment, while we're recording this, it's slightly not in Luton's hands, but it can be. And that's the thing, isn't it? And, you know, if you can go away now unbeaten in 3 on the road and at home things have started picking up, you go into that game against Blackburn full of hope, and then it makes the Kenny the fortress that we want it to be, because it hasn't been this season. It has been quiet, and there's been some negative chants of, you know, how it was you be, that sort of thing. But if they're singing, we're staying up and 30 points, it gives a, you know what, that's the old Luton, and it's the underdog fighting spirit, the never say die, that has to come from players as well, but it also has to be given from the terraces. And I think you're approaching, the old Luton, where everyone's more unified. I wouldn't say as unified as ever, because obviously the season has happened, we've all seen it, but approaching that. And if you can cast aside that for now, which we said we had to after the international break with an 8-game mini season, which is what the original Great Escape was, then it's just about getting behind them and making home games horrible and cheering them on to get vital points on the road.
Yeah, when this club's rosy, we're a perfect storm, aren't we? Fans are loud and proud, and the players feed off of that, and the players give everything. They show character, they show fight, they show heart, determination, everything that Jimbo, I, and plenty of guests on this podcast this season have thought we'd lacked over the first half of it. And then that in turn gets the fans even extra louder. You know, this is the first time I've come into a podcast with my throat slightly dodgy for a long, long time. Forget the fact that it's the first time that we've celebrated a goal like that last night for a long, long time. It's just, you've not been singing at away games very often this season because you've had nothing to sing about. Even Cardiff, when we won, till the winning goal went in, we weren't really a great deal to sing about because the game was just so bad up until that point. Okay, Hull was a different story, and that was fantastic. But 12:30 kickoffs dilute the atmosphere. We've mentioned that on this podcast anyway. But under the lights, a night game, a true, you know, sort of English football clash of, you know, it was competitive. At times it was, you know, nasty. It was intimidating. Their fans are up. That's as full as I've seen that stadium for a long, long time when we've been there. It was just a brilliant away night. And okay, of course, the cherry on the top would have been if we could have somehow found a winner. But like,
Tried.
we did try.
Did
Yeah,
try.
we did try. But, you know, I was kind of when the 5 minutes went up, I was like, what the hell? Because the half didn't start for 2 minutes at the start of it because of that Morris nonsense. So you're telling me there was only 3 minutes of stoppages for the rest of the half. Once we've equalised, thank God it's only 5 minutes because the old they put us through it, Jimbo, this football club. They're going to kill me off at some point, and it's absolutely fine. I'll happily go to my deathbed knowing full well that it's them that's done it, but we don't do nothing the easy way, but we wouldn't want it any other way either.
Well, no. I mean, I'd like it not doing it the easy way at the other end of the table, but you know, we are where we are, and was it Steve when we had him in that said only 2 out of the last 20 seasons, was it? We've not had anything to really do at the end of a season. That's remarkable. I mean, there's been a lot of relegations and a lot of promotions in that time, but you can't, when you look back on it, probably in hindsight, when you're older than we are, you'd want that more than just, you know, Rochdale, who stayed in League One for forever and never went up and never went down. Yeah, you'd want that, and it does make for an exciting football club to follow.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I look at some of these other clubs. Listen, everyone who's local to where they are, you know, you support their local club. It's all special to them. But you look at like a Preston, who at this stage of a season are always, you know, just playing out time on the season, and you're kind of like not really sure. Being a Luton fan, you just know that come March, April, and May, you know, you got to get up for it because the games are going to be so important one way or the other. In my early days, they were always down at the bottom and we were trying our hardest to stay up in the top flight. Some of my best memories are from that time, you know. Hopefully we recreate another one at Derby next Friday, but obviously the 3-2 at Derby in 1990 will go down in history for those of us that were at baseball ground that afternoon. But and then more recently, it's been towards the top end of the table. And I have to say, the nerves when you're at the top end of the table are a hell of a lot less than the nerves when you're down at the bottom end of the table. The old fingernails were going again last night. Just got them back. Started going again. But at the same time, it gives you a feeling that, I don't know, in the pit of your stomach that you're kind of involved in it, really. It's why I go to games. I so struggled during that COVID time when I couldn't be there. Of course, I watched every game on my laptop. That was the sort of the perk that was given to us by virtue of being season tickets. But you look away from your laptop. You're at home. You know, something will distract you or whatever. But when you're at the game itself, and it's kind of interesting because I saw my old man this morning, and he was like, "Well, it weren't much of a game, was it?" But since the full-time whistle last night, I thought it was a perfectly good game. Being sat there in the stands, maybe it's because I'm deeply immersed in it, and maybe that's the difference. But you just get feelings in this relegation battle that you don't get anywhere else. Someone messaged me, a mid-table mediocrity season would be nice, wouldn't it? But when it comes along, we'd be like, it's a bit boring, this.
Yeah. I think what we're saying is that we are, and most people out there watching or listening to this, given the fact that we've had those end of season battles wherever they are in the table, we're sort of old hands at it. And so we can recognize when something is happening in the same way we recognize that we were always going to get into the playoffs. And, you know, if there was a couple more extra games in that last championship season, I reckon we'd have picked Sheffield United and gone up automatically. We were just that effective at getting results, and you recognise it. And that's why the 1,200 that were with you last night were singing, and that's why they were singing at the weekend, and that's why there's more positivity. I'm seeing social media posts from people going, I think we can do this, and because they recognise it, it's muscle memory from all those seasons when we know just how important those games are and how the running is. And it's it's exciting in its own way, but like you say, it's a much different kettle of fish when it's at the other end of the table.
It is. It is. Strap yourselves in, folks. Five games to go. It's going to be a bumpy roller coaster of a ride, but we're going to love absolutely every minute of it. And the beauty of it is we can have our impact. 3 of those games at Kenilworth Road, where we can make it as nasty and as horrible and as intimidating for other sides as we possibly can. Yeah. Should we hear from Matt Bloomfield? We've mentioned from him a couple of times, haven't we? He did an interview with the club channel last night that was really, really good, actually, because not least because he thanked you guys, the supporters, everyone that was there, for your impact on a really, really key night. You kind of get the feeling that when we look back on this on May the 4th, that this is a point that will be pretty significant in the overall picture.
I'm really proud of our performance tonight. I thought we were excellent. It's the best away performance in my time as manager of our football club. I'm really proud of the numbers of supporters we brought up here on a Tuesday night to roar the boys on and to have that moment at the end. I think it would have been really deflating if we'd have got beat by a deflected goal. I think that would have been really deflating for us. So to kind of find that moment, the boys have been really consistent recently. The energy levels and the performance levels have been really high, and now they don't know when they're beaten, which is a good combination. So we have to really harness that. You can see the togetherness and the connections in the change room, out on the pitch, and with our supporters, and we're growing. And tonight again, we've responded to a difficult moment and a disappointing moment. So the character is building, the belief is building. That comes with confidence, right? For that I'm really, really pleased. Honestly, I know I've said it once, but I want to thank our supporters for their support at the end, and the connection with the players is growing, and I'm really, really pleased about it. Yeah, I think it's really important that we keep showing that fight, that grit, that determination that Luton Town stands for, and you can see our boys are doing it. You really can see that they're just leaving everything out there, and it's a tough place to come. Stoke have been in good form at home. It's a tough game for us. So to take a point, I know that everything's heightened because of where we are in the season. I understand that, but away from home, a point's never a bad result, and especially in that manner with which we've done it, it feels like more than that. And we have to, harness that and carry that into the weekend and turn up at the Kenny on Saturday, ready to go.
I just want to reiterate what I said earlier in the podcast, Jimbo. This guy is giving us our club back, and he's doing it understatedly. He's doing it with a confidence that he knows what he's doing. He said all along, hasn't he, this is how it's going to be, and he's working to the plan. Okay, I don't suppose he probably realised quite how much of a mess he was inheriting. I don't think anyone would from the outside. You look at a team that's been in the Premier League, you just think they're in a bad few bits of form. There was a lot more deeper lying issues. He sorted them out. Full credit to him. Comes over to Luton fans before away games now, regardless of where they are in the stadium. He had to come out of the opposite corner to where the Luton fans were. He walked right the way across, clapped them before the game. Got a good response back. He's now getting chance of Matt Bloomfield's Barmy Army coming back at him as well, which is fantastic. And then after the game, much like his predecessor, sort of hovers on the outskirts, lets the players take their plaudits. Everyone was pushing Milli Alli forward. He was getting serenaded with Ali, and everything else. And then, of course, last, as always, is Thomas Kaminski. He was coming from the far end of the pitch. He comes forward, gave his shirt to a young fan who asked for it, got lots of songs sung at him as well, and then Bloomfield comes forward again, and it's just the things that might only happen at Luton. I don't know. I don't follow other clubs. I'm not really interested in other clubs, but it's important to Luton fans that we have those moments at the end of games.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that's been instilled from us for 10 years now. Well, from John Still. We've put up the evening with John Steele that we had put on YouTube this morning, so you can watch the whole thing and just see what that man sort of created, and everybody else has added their own flavour to it. And I understand why when he first came in and things weren't going well, people might have feared that might not carry on. But I think you can see the building blocks that are in place now. It's not the finished product, but it's the building blocks he had to use had been smashed all over the place, so he had to pick them up in the first place. So yeah, it's everything bar the current league position and the nervousness around it, which is perfectly understandable. Everything seems to be going back in the right direction. Not there yet, but that's a positive.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because I do just want to stress everything that Matt's doing, because I'm not a rewriter of history. I did have my concerns about him after the Watford game. I sat on this podcast and I said he needs results. Otherwise, if we go down under him, he's under so much pressure next season. If we just limply, like we thought we were going to do, limply fall out of this league, and he hasn't. And, he was strong enough to call them out for not being fit enough and not running enough prior to that Portsmouth game. And since then, we've been on this fantastic run. So he well and truly put my fears right down my throat. And now my fears are being replaced with complete and utter optimism under this guy. Even if we do go down, and hey, let's not fully associate that yet, because that's definitely not going to happen. But even if we do go down, we were talking about 2 or 3 year rebuild in League One. I'm confident that he's building this club up enough within the time that he's spending in the Championship that were the worst to happen and we can't reel 2 more in, at least next season we'll be hitting the ground running and we should have a good tilt at League One next season. There's none of this Wigan and Rotherham stuff that we were talking about. We should be looking at the more, obviously not with the same net spend, but the Birmingham style of straight back up sort of thing, or in the playoffs at the very least. But hey, we'll worry about that next season. But yeah, I just wanted to put it out there that I have shared my fears, and now it's only right that I share what I'm enjoying about him.
Yeah, both of us. I mean, it was probably the Watford game, and maybe it's because it's the arch rivalry and the derby nature of it, and how really pathetic the first half was, that I think we both thought at that point we're going down, and that's how it's changed in it, because now we're thinking we're banging this, got a massive chance, the Great Escape is on, certain things are clicking into place and falling the way that just feels like that could be the case. They've still got to do it, but it's a much nicer place to be than at 3-4 o'clock at Vicarage Road.
Oh yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah. 5 huge games of football to come, and I can't wait for the next one, Jimbo. And that's the thing. That's the big difference. You were going to games, got season ticket, or you got away season ticket. They were a bit of a chore at times. They were. There's no getting away from it. They were. They're not now. Now the days can't disappear quick enough for the next one to come along. And Saturday's going to be special. It's going to be magic. It's going to be a proper Luton day on Saturday.
I absolutely cannot wait for it, because there's another little deja vu moment as well. I'm telling you, this remake of The Great Escape is looking every bit as good as the original.
It is indeed. Yep. Yeah. So 1-1 then. No correct score for me. No correct score for Jimbo. Thank Christ there was no correct score for Jimbo. I don't know what he was thinking with regards to that one, but yeah, no, thankfully, not for you. Allow me to look down on my phone. I've not had chance to write down all of this, but I do know that we've got some correct scores. So we'll give you a shout out. Reginald 3000, Steph Ball 6011 would love 3 points, but going for a 1-1 draw. Yeah, wouldn't we all? Absolutely. There are others, Jimbo. Hold with me. Bear with me. Richard Tyson
in the background.
Richard Tyson again. Got 1-1 on Saturday. Went 1-1 again on Tuesday. Spot on. Tom Mollett 300 1-1. Absolutely spot on. And let me get right to the top of the comments just to make sure that Twats LTFC was tempted with a 1-1 draw, which would have really closed the gap on Claire at the top actually. But he went 1-0 Luton. Bad luck. You've hit the crossbar there.
There's somebody that doesn't understand reverse psychology for the win. Eh? I'm joking. You're doing well.
Richard Lovelock 1-1. And do you know what, Max Frazier? You're right, but you was well after kickoff, weren't you? Stoke 1, Luton 1, last Gus Bailey goal. I know. We see when the comments are posted. I want a quick shout out as well. Listen, you didn't get the right score, Daz Fit, but perfect match for an Ali somersault. Predictions 2-0 win. Well, do you know what?
Nearly.
The Ali somersault, absolutely spot on. What a celebration that was. Don't injure yourself when you do that, Millie, please. But what a celebration.
Oh, don't you just love it? It's sensational. I haven't really gone an hour without looking back at the goal, because it is a thing of beauty, and I love a slow-mo as well, don't you? When you boys made the noise for the goal going in, it just sounds so much more cacophonous somehow when it's in the slow-mo video that the club put out. It's a beautiful piece of film. Get it in the Oscars.
Yeah, it's weird that, because Luton fans are usually in the opposite corner, the corner where the tunnel comes out, and you can't get an atmosphere in there. They've shifted them to the corner where the roofs and everything and the Stoke fans are enclosed on both sides. Okay, not last night. There was a huge gap because Luton didn't fill their entire allocation. The allocation for the away end must be enormous. But you can get a lot more noise in that corner is what you can because the open nature of the corner on the other side. I don't know if that goes against why Stoke's home form wasn't great in the early stages of the season. Of course, it's picked up a little bit now, but not complaining. More away ends like that, please. And thankfully at Derby at the next one, where I know Luton have already sold out their initial allocation and they're waiting for a second allocation to come in, is another one that's in the corner. Oh, there's going to be some serious voices breaking that day.
Do you know what, now you mention that, when you're looking at sort of omens and how things can possibly go, we're talking about Luton on this momentum that they're getting and that late goal gives that a turbo boost. But in the reverse, a club like Stoke, they're all absolutely panicking now because they think that they can't defend late goals, and they're right, because as unjust as it was, Millwall got that late penalty against them a couple of weeks back, and now this in a relegation fight, when if you saw the highlights back, I noticed that Johansson did some sort of very big celebration when their goal went, because they thought that was the goal that gets them safe, and it wasn't. And then from being in that position, just that sort of action from the goalie of his celebration to then him getting beaten at his near post and the late equaliser sort of tips the balance of it 180 degrees, really, I feel. And those things can always be really important. They're going to be worried now until the 95th, 6th, 7th, 8th minutes of games, whereas Luton are going, if they need something, we could get this now. And that's a total different mindset change. So they're not out of it when they could have been, and Luton are back in it when it could have been a bit more difficult. And those sorts of things can be so crucial in run-ins like this.
Do you know the other thing? You've just kind of tweaked my memory. Lots of people going to celebrate in the corner when Ali scored. One man isn't. Lamine Fane goes and gets the ball. He gets tripped up along the way, actually. You can see it in the background of all the celebrations. Goes and gets the ball. His mind, back to the halfway line, we're going to go and win this. When you think there's only 3 minutes left of the game, at that situation, the whole world of a Luton persuasion takes a point. Not Lamine. I'm going to get the ball back. We've got time to go and win this.
Yeah, mindset, isn't it? It's that thing. And they did get up there. There was a promising little move, which I thought might happen. It obviously didn't, but that just shows you a team that has had an absolute transformation in the confidence stakes. It couldn't have got any lower at certain stages in the season. And now it's so big that they have scored a 91st minute goal and they're thinking we can go and win this. And that is, it's going to be so crucial.
Absolutely. Yep. I should have just said we put the leaderboard up whilst I was going through all of that stuff on my phone. And no change right at the very top. 5 games left to see if you guys can reel Claire in at the top of our correct score leaderboard. What a night. What an absolute night.
Love it. That's what we're here for, innit? And we'd missed it. It's been so difficult to record podcasts because we've been spoiled. We have 10 years of I know this is our 8th season doing this, and every single season has been, apart from this Great Escape, but that turned out okay, it's been on the up and up, and this one's been so difficult. But yeah, to come in here, to bounce in here the morning after when I've not really slept, I was too excited, and I don't think anyone else has. It's just magic, innit?
You can't sleep if you was in that away end last night, can you? You've got adrenaline running right through your body, you know. I mean, I got in at 12:30 last night. Like you, I was watching the goal until about 3 o'clock this morning because I just couldn't settle. You know, the adrenaline was still going. I dread to think how the players will be this morning, because they'll be exactly the same when they've been running around. That's probably going to help them sleep a little bit, but they'll fueled with adrenaline and everything else. Must be so hard to recover the morning after nights like that as a player, let alone as us as supporters.
But they'll be the same as you. They can't wait for the next game. I can guarantee it. Just the chin up, chests out feel that you get from them. I bet they're buzzing. They can't wait for that, because I think that they'll know from the experience of the last month or 5 weeks that Saturday against Blackburn is going to be absolutely rocking. I cannot wait to be there. Why does Thursday and Friday have to be a thing? Let's just get there.
Absolutely. Cancel Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, please. Yeah. Yeah, brilliant night. It's what you guys, it's what we all support this football club for. Literally the only negative I could find. I swear to God, I was going into an airport last night. The amount of checks to get into that ground. Mate, I'm going to a game of football. If anyone else wanted to pat me up, I think I'd have gone into double figures.
They've heard about your reputation, mate.
Well, they probably have.
Only you.
They probably have. But if the first guy can't see something from me, chances are 7 and 8 ain't going to see anything from me either. Do you know what I mean? Just let me in to watch a game of football. Mate, I've spent 9 months since I've really wanted to go into an away football ground and watch a game of football. You didn't pat me down 10 times when I didn't want to go in. Now I do. You're trying to stop me from bloody going in. Stop it. But
I mean, if that's the only negative you can find, I mean, that's
yeah, absolutely,
not
yeah.
even a negative, is it?
No, that's it.
Yeah.
And also full credit to Stoke, £20 to get in. This division is a rip-off of a division. Anytime you can get in for 20 quid, you will, you take it, won't you? So, yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, only negatives I could find. Thanks to everyone for coming up again last night and commenting to me. It's great that you're really enjoying the podcast, and we're really glad that you're enjoying seeing our happy outlook now that results have turned around and confidence is building and everything else. And, you know, as I said, together as one, we can still pull off this great escape. So do please keep your comments coming. We really appreciate them. Do keep subscribing. These podcasts are going to come thick and fast at you over the next 8, 9, 10 days with Easter at the end of it and everything else. And as Jimbo said, if you didn't go to the evening with John Still a few weeks ago, it is now live on this very channel. You can watch all of it, including that rallying cry at the end once again from the great man.
I think he looks good.
The host weren't bad either, was he?
Yeah, well.
Thanks to the Barber Club and the Lower Level in Luton for hosting our studio. As always, we really appreciate your support, guys, particularly on weekdays like this where you let us come in and record early doors. Thanks to Sean Grant and the Wolfgang for our intro music, and to Ed Smith Creative for all the designs that you see on set. Until next time, which will hopefully be fully voiced preview of the Blackburn home game on Saturday. From Jimbo and myself, make sure you keep believing, because the Town are right in this now. Come on, you Atters.